In true YouTube fashion, I will say there is a work at the end of this video that I had been on the lookout for some time in the edition that I found it. So do consider sticking around, because I really nearly let out a little whoop of joy when I saw this on the shelves. Hello, my name's Gavin, this is Genre Books. It's time for a book haul. I finally had some time off work and went a little overboard. Consequently, this may be the first of two videos of book hauls to save going on for an hour. I'll concentrate today on the stuff which is a bit more genre related, so some horror, some science fiction, some fantasy, that kind of thing, saving the more highfalutin books for another video. And I'll start today with the Pan book of horror stories, which I wasn't expecting to see on the shelves. This is the first of the long-running series of Pan horror stories collections, edited or selected here by Herbert Van Thal, and according to the back, it is fiendish and fantastic. We have stories from everyone from C.S. Forrester and L.P. Hartley through to Jack Finney, Nigel Neal, he of Quatermass fame. I did a whole video on Nigel Neal back in July, and also foreshadowing a bit of a Occult Detective October, a story here from Seabury Quinn. And speaking of Occult Detective October, one which I probably won't be reading, but one which would qualify, Ash by James Herbert. This is, I think this might be his final novel. It's certainly one of his longest, and definitely the final novel involving his protagonist David Ash, who is, well, he's a paranormal investigator, if not quite an occult detective. So I think he counts. Something for my of its time shelves, Sax Roma and the Fu Manchu Omnibus Volume 1. I've never seen any of these volumes on shelves before. As soon as I saw this on the shelf, it was in my arms probably about 3 seconds later. Okay, there are obviously problems with Fu Manchu, but what I've read of it so far is also really fun. And this has 3 novels here: The Mystery of Fu Manchu, The Devil Doctor, and the Sci-Fan Mysteries. And if Fu Manchu brings out that pulpish itch, here is the collection with which to scratch it. Pulp Fiction, The Villains, edited by Otto Penzler, introduction by Harlan Ellison, and full of famous and not famous writers. We have Earl Stanley Gardner, Leslie Charteris, Dashiell Hammett, James M. Cain, Raymond Chandler. We've also got Raoul Whitfield, Steve Fisher, Frederick C. Davis. So some people I have read and some people I absolutely definitely haven't. Always keen to expand my pulp knowledge. Although I've read this next book on more than one occasion, I don't think I actually have a copy on my shelves, so I don't know where it went to. But when I saw this classic copy, this is the edition I first read when I got it out of the library back when I was a kid. I could not resist. It's Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with that classic Pan cover. This, don't worry, it's not Not a valuable one. This is the 6th printing from 1980, but I'll be happy, more than happy, to read this again one day. I didn't see much in the way of pulp magazines or science fiction digests on my travels this week, but I did see one thing, and had it been any other issue of this magazine, I might have resisted the temptation, but this was the very first issue of Isaac Asimov's science fiction. I always get very jealous of the book offers that people were having back then. We have stories in this first issue from John Varley, Isaac Asimov, oddly enough, Arthur C. Clarke, George O. Smith, Fred Saberhagen, Gordon R. Dickson, and others. We also have that staple of science fiction digest and pulp magazines, the cigarette advert. Another science fiction book that I have read before, but it's been some while, and I checked and I did not have it on my shelves. Ian M. Banks, The Player of Games. So I read Consider Phlebas earlier this year, or reread it I should say, for the first time in a quarter century or more, and I had forgotten how much I loved the culture. I do remember absolutely loving this book. Next, a collection of especially commissioned short stories that was edited by Arthur C. Clarke. The stories written in 1969. The first edition of this book came out in 1970. This, I think, is the first paperback edition. 3 for Tomorrow, with some suitably apocalyptic imagery on the front cover. Stories from James Blish, Roger Zelazny, and Robert Silverberg. Next is some more Arthur C. Clarke, but as the writer rather than the editor of a book. This is one I have been on the lookout for some time, and I don't think I've ever come across it. So I was very surprised just to see this nonchalantly and haphazardly stacked on the bookshelves of a particular bookshop. This is an edition from the same year I was born, which is a nice way of saying not the first edition. Tales from the White Hart. Absolutely love that cover. Hodder Fawcett Coronet Books from 1967, and I'm yet to be convinced that Groff Conklin was anyone's real name, but here we have a selection of stories edited, selected by Groff Conklin. 7 Comes Infinity. I don't know who Clifford C. Simak is. He may be related to Clifford D. Simak, or there might have been a good lunch down at the Typesetters. Next up, not just a science fiction novel, not just an ace science fiction novel, but an ace illustrated novel. Gordon R. Dickson and Pro. As you can see, this one has been remaindered at some point, but this 1979 edition of a Gordon Dickson book I've not read before, but this involves a pro, a space professional, whose job it is to whip some backward planets into shape by what sounds a little bit like the application of nudge theory. This next book, not in the best of condition, but I've never read it before. Star Wars. George Lucas Star Wars, with 16 pages of colour photographs, and it is apparently the greatest film of the century, that century being last century. This is a reprint, but it is a reprint, an immediate reprint from 1977, when presumably the first run of books flew off the shelves very, very quickly. This book does settle a little argument. Is Star Wars science fiction? Is it more fantasy? Well, it says here at the back, science fiction. Case closed. Mind you, it says at the front that it's written by George Lucas, and it wasn't. It was written by Alan Dean Foster. So, can you really believe anything? What's better than Star Wars? I'll tell you, Doctor Who. And this next writing duo I first knew as writers on Doctor Who. In fact, they were the creators of the Cybermen. But they also created a series I do enjoy called Doomwatch. This was a big series back in the days before I was born, and starred Jesus Christ in an early role. All three of these books I got in the same bookshop, but they were in completely different areas of the bookshop shelves. They were not together, and when I found one, I thought it was a one-off until I saw by chance the second, carried on looking, found the third, and probably spent the next 15 minutes wasted looking in vain for a fourth. But very happy with these ones. I've never seen them before, and I will definitely be reading at least one of these for next year's Garb August. It's probably going to be this one, Mutant 59, the Plastic Eater. So this is based on a early and quite famous Doomwatch episode. Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis followed up Mutant 59, the Plastic Eater, with Brainrack. Now, not all of Doomwatch episodes exist. I don't recall seeing this episode. I'm not saying that there isn't one, but I'm saying that there might have been, and I haven't seen it, or there might have been, and it is now lost. But it is about the government failing to deal with an accident at a nuclear power station. And finally from them, something I don't think they would have had the budget for in Doomwatch world, the Dino Star Menace. So based on a orbiting space station, looks to be some sort of book of sabotage, peril and thrills. A Frederick Pohl book that I didn't have, so for a couple of quid I decided to add it to the collection. It's Penguin Science Fiction, A Plague of Pythons. Even if this next book wasn't written by Rudy Rooker, even if this next book wasn't called The Hollow Earth, which is so up my alley for a reading this year, even if this did not involve a Hollow Earth and have Edgar Allan Poe as one of its characters, I still don't think I could have resisted a book with this cover. More remaindered science fiction, this time from Bob Shaw. This is a science fiction, Vertigo, and that guy looks to be in some kind of trouble. A series of books I have been after for years, but always find them in a condition too shabby, a price too expensive, or out of order, only seeing one of the three. So when I saw all three together in, let's be charitable and say it, reader copy condition, but not too expensive, I decided to take the plunge and get the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson. Some Clifford D. Simak now, and the first of these more on his fantasy side than the staple science fiction, Where the Evil Dwells. and one from him that I've been wanting to read for some time, The Werewolf Principle. Quartet science fiction next, and In the Kingdom of the Beasts by Brian M. Stableford. And that's a bit of a trippy cover. And this next one doesn't do too bad either. It's another remaindered book. Not remaindered with a notch this time, but with a little hole in the front cover. Margaret Sinclair, The Dancers of Noyo. This from, I think, 72 or 73, and looking a bit new age sci-fi disco on the cover. I'm in favour of all of this. From Bayham Books next, some Theodore Sturgeon, To Marry Medusa. This also has, at the end, a short novella from Sturgeon, Killdozer. Floating City Shenanigans now from one of the foundational science fiction writers, Jules Verne, Propeller Island. This from Panther. This is, I'm guessing, 60s print. 1965. Slap bang in the middle. Some possibilities now for Occult Detective October. I'm sort of thinking of getting these books for some time, but when I saw them secondhand, I took the plunge. I last heard someone talk about this only in this last week when Dave Brzezinski met with Debs at Rainer Read Stuff, and this is one of the books that they mentioned. Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. Occult detective fiction set in London. What's not to like? I've also got, I think, the second book in this series, Moon over Soho. Ben Aronovich, the second writer on, or in this pile, who I first knew as a writer of Doctor Who. Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis gave us The Cybermen. Some 25 years later, Ben Aronovich gave us the fantastic Dalek story with Sylvester McCoy's Doctor. And I think the last Occult Detective October option I have in this haul, Jim Butcher, Stormfront, first of the Dresden Files books. Not read any of these. I hear mostly good things about these. I shall not entirely good, not good from all sides. So I will reserve judgment until I've read the first one. It's about a wizard called Harry. That doesn't really get me excited for it, but I'll read it nonetheless. A 1,000-page book for 50p with appreciative blurb from Stephen R. Donaldson. Stephen Erickson. Dead House Gates, part of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I think this is the third book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen series I've got. I've not yet started them. So maybe I will read one before I buy any more. But for 50p, worth the punt. 3 books now from Michael Moorcock, a man who the covers of his books seldom disappoint. 3 cases in point here. The Final Programme. This is something which I'm upset I didn't get in time for Garb August, but more than happy I have it now. This is apocalyptic fiction, as I think only Michael Moorcock could write it. And 2 books from the ever expanding Eternal Champion series, The Oak and the Ram, and The Jewel in the Skull. A short book next, and one which I might read this month, as it is Shorty September and Shake-tember. Terry Pratchett, The Shakespeare Codex. This is a play and it involves characters from the Discworld, such as Rincewind, the Librarian, Lord Veterinary, Granny Weatherwax, and also characters from what they call here the Round World. Elizabeth I, William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Dr. D. And finally, for today, 3 books, a series of books that I have been after for some time. Part of a series, or sort of part of a series, that I really am intending to finish my collection of at some point before I pop my clogs. The Ballantine Adult Fantasy series, but this is 3 books that were printed by Ballantine just before they started putting that unicorn logo in the top corner. I will have to do some remedial work, some very delicate remedial work, to take some stickers off the covers, because the covers look fantastic. But what I have here is Mervyn Peake's Gormenghast trilogy. Titus Groan, Gormenghast, and Titus Alone. These are all first thus, as far as I can make out. I will, as I say, have to do some work, because these stickers, permanent editorial library copy, do not remove, need removal, and that sellotape may have been there for 40 years or more, so wish me luck. But I have been after these for a couple of years, since I first saw that they existed. I have the Gormenghast trilogy already in Penguin. I think I should be getting rid of that edition, because this has been the edition I have been lusting after for some time. So I was more than happy when I found these all together, and for a price that I would have paid for just one of the volumes. So that was, I think, the peak of my book haul activity for the week. But please don't let that stop you watching the second part of this book haul when I come to film and release it. Until next time, bye.